It's time to talk about the important issues for the natural state. And there's only one place to turn for that. Opportunity Arkansas's Nic Horton. You can find Nic's work at opportunityarkansas.org.
Yeah, good Wednesday morning to you. Welcome back to First News. It is the 19th day of March, 20 minutes in front of 8 o'clock, in the Arkansas legislative session still ongoing. And here to update us on some of the latest news around the Capitol this week is Nic Horton, the CEO and founder of Opportunity Arkansas. And Nic, welcome back to the show. How are you this week?
Hey, I'm hanging in there like a hair in a biscuit. It's good to be with you, brother.
Boy, well, we appreciate it. So, Nic, one thing that we haven't really discussed yet on this show when you've joined us is this film tax credit in our state. And so there's already a film tax credit here in Arkansas, but it sounds like it might get expanded in this session. So can you talk a little bit about what the film tax credit is and then what you and Opportunity Arkansas have discovered about where our tax dollars are going with this bill?
Yeah, I really appreciate the chance to talk about this because I think it's something that is a little bit underreported, and that's kind of a specialty of ours, it seems, at Opportunity Arkansas to try to find the big issues that maybe enough people aren't talking about, and I think this is one of them. And so you've got something, a lot of states have this now, unfortunately, where essentially what happens is if a filmmaker, a film company decides they want to film a movie in Arkansas, which is a fine thing, right? Okay,
yes.
Great. Come film in Arkansas, bring some attention and publicity and notoriety to the state. Use our beautiful natural resources and landscape to shoot your movie. Totally fine. That's great. But when they do that, in certain cases, they are then eligible for taxpayer funding. And you and I and your listeners get to help pay for the production of those films. And so, in my mind, when I'm looking at some of these films that are shot here, I'm thinking I wouldn't pay $20 to take my family to see some of these movies, much less pay for their production. But because of this film tax credit, that's what's happening in a lot of cases. And so it's something that it's easy for policymakers and I think difficult even at times for the public and policymakers to recognize the harm that this is doing because there's just not a lot of data out there. It's very opaque, and it just kind of becomes this colloquial, well, we all love Arkansas, and it's good for Arkansas, and it's tourism, and it's publicity, and let's just keep doing it and let things roll on. But there has been a growing body now of academic research that's showing these things don't even pay for themselves. Like, not only are we not getting more money back than we're spending, but we're actually losing money. Taxpayers are losing money on these programs. And then I'd be happy to talk a little bit about as well some of the original data that we got this week about where this money is actually going.
Yeah, no, tell us a little bit about that. I mean, that's to me, that's the most interesting part here is where is the money going?
Yeah, so we've criticized these spending because, again, it really what it amounts to is state government taking my money and your listeners' money and saying, we know how to spend it better, and rather than you using it to feed your family or put a roof over your head or pay your income tax or whatever, wherever that money might be going, we're going to take it and give it to Hollywood companies instead. And when I've said that in the past, I've gotten a lot of blowback on Twitter and elsewhere that, no, Nic, you don't understand. You don't understand. This is going to Arkansas companies. This is going to Arkansas filmmakers and entrepreneurs, and we should be investing in them, and we should be helping them get on their feet. And against, of course, who's against entrepreneurship? We're all for that, right?
Yep.
But what we did in the last couple of weeks, and it took a lot of finagling and a lot of teeth pulling to get this data, but we were actually able to get data for the first time from the state of Arkansas, from the Arkansas Economic Development Commission, and find out where is that money actually going. Because it's nice to say, oh, it's going to this filmmaker from Pottsville, Arkansas, or Greenbrier, Arkansas, or wherever you want to say. But reality is, I had a sneaky suspicion that was not the case.
Right.
So we filed a Freedom of Information Act request after a lot of finagling with attorneys and bureaucrats that, frankly, for some reason didn't want this information to get out, it seems. What we found, just bottom line here, and I'll stop burying the lead, 85% of the tax revenue over the last 5 years for a sample that we were able to get goes out of state. 85%. The vast majority of that went to HBO. and not exactly your traditional mom and pop Arkansas values, American loving corporation of HBO.
Right.
That's where the bulk of the money went. A lot of it goes, the bulk of it goes to New York, California, outside of Arkansas, major corporations. Look, I love billionaires. I don't have a problem with billionaires, but these are billionaire-owned companies, left-wing billionaires in particular. They don't need our money. They don't need your money. They don't need my money.
Nope.
They don't need the people of Arkansas's money. And it is, to me, it's just a very icky, traditional, classic wealth redistribution where politicians have said over time, this has been around for 15 years, so it's not entirely the fault of the people that are there now, but at some point we've said, hey, we're going to take money from the people of Arkansas, we're going to redistribute it to film companies, and I just think it's horrible.
Yeah,
and the results are not there.
No, and obviously, we pay for the production. We're not in on the royalties on the backside, and so there's no getting this money back. So
that's exactly right.
We're talking with Nic Horton this morning, CEO and founder of Opportunity Arkansas. In non-debatable this week, you wrote about the Arkansas Victims Rights Bill, which is a constitutional amendment. And so, what would this law do, Nick? And who's supporting it? Who's against it? How does this law break down?
Yeah, and again, I appreciate the chance to talk about this because I think, once again, this is something that it's just not front and center. We see the headlines of the people that do the murdering and sometimes the people that get murdered, but what we don't see behind the curtain, behind the scenes, are the victims' families and the victims themselves if they survived some of these heinous crimes.
Right.
And what happens to them throughout the justice process. And what we found as we've talked individually to victims one-on-one in Arkansas, across the state of Arkansas, that have been victimized by, in sometimes very heinous incidents, and sometimes maybe not as much, but very serious crimes. We talked to, for example, a video, just a little teaser. We've got a video coming out here in the next few days of a lady who is a victim of attempted murder. And her husband ran her over with a truck and tried to kill her. And in the video, in the story, y'all are going to see and hear about how difficult of a time she had throughout the trial, trying to get information, trying to find out when the hearings were, trying to get a seat at the table to give a victim's impact statement, to talk to the jury. She wasn't allowed to talk to the jury. She wasn't allowed to tell the jury, hey, this is what happened. The court, out of their benevolence, allowed her to give a victim impact statement, but the jury wasn't in the room, so they never got to hear it. And so really, bottom line, what this is all about is that we feel very strongly at Opportunity Arkansas, and I think most Arkansans, in fact, we have polling to show that most Arkansans agree with this, victims should have a say. Victims should have a voice. Victims should have at least as many rights and at least as much standing and a platform in the justice process as much as the criminals. We have all sorts of constitutional protections for criminals. If you can't afford an attorney, one will be provided to you. You have the right to remain silent. You have this and that. All these rights that we attribute to criminals, which is fine and constitutional, and that should be there, I think. But we don't have those same protections for victims. We just don't.
Yeah.
And so one of the bills, the constitutional amendments that's moving through the legislature right now, would put some of those basic protections into the Arkansas State Constitution. The legislature would refer it out to the people. It would go on the ballot in November of 2026. And then hopefully, along with the majority of states now across the country, Arkansas would say, we're going to give victims standings. We're going to make sure that victims have a voice in the process. We're going to make sure that we don't just spend all of our time catering to and coddling criminals and alleged criminals, but we're going to make sure that victims have a voice in this. So
yeah,
I think it's really, really important. Very common sense.
Yeah, as well it should be. I was just going to say that. It should be common sense that this should be happening. One thing on the way out, Nick, and I saw this recently, that you happen to be named part of the Arkansas Money and Politics 2025 C-Suite. And so congratulations on that. That's got to be a big honor for you and Opportunity Arkansas, right? Well,
you're going to make me blush, but it is an honor, and I'm very grateful for the recognition. But in all seriousness, I've told people I didn't start a state-based think tank to make friends, and I haven't either. We started a state-based think tank to make a difference
Yeah.
and to bring real change.
You're
to
doing
the state
you're
of
doing a great
Arkansas to
job at
solve
that at this
generational
point.
problems. Well, I appreciate that. We certainly have made an impact, and we're really just getting started. 3 years ago this month, when I
Nice.
started putting the pieces together to launch Opportunity Arkansas. So it's an honor. It's a great recognition, but truly, I'm just grateful for the attention that I hope it's going to bring to our organization and to our team and the great work that we're doing. We have a great team now. It's not just me anymore. We've got a full team. You talked to Jay Robertson last week.
Yep.
We've got researchers. We've got a whole host of folks that are really making the magic happen, and so proud and honored to work with them every day. And so grateful for the recognition, but we're really just getting started.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting, but yes, the recognition definitely. If nothing else, it just lets people know what you're doing, lets them know about the organization, and obviously the honor is great as well. But you can see Nic and Opportunity Arkansas's work at opportunityarkansas.org. That's the website. Nic, we always appreciate you coming on the show, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Okay, brother. Thank you.